Wes from NewFrame here. Today we're going to talk about the idea of pacing and what that means for someone in chronic pain. Pacing is appropriately using all your energy throughout your day, not using too much, but also making sure you use enough so you can fall asleep at night. Now, this may sound familiar because this is what spoon theory is based off of. Spoon theory is a way to apply pacing to your life. The way spoon theory works is by breaking down your energy into functional units, and these are your spoons. What you can do is figure out how many spoons you have at the start of the day, and then deliberately spend those spoons based off what you need to do throughout the day. And this takes a little planning, as I'm sure you all know out there. But it is one of the best ways to ensure you maximize your energy the best way possible. And of course, this isn't a perfect method, because some days you simply feel better than others. Some days we have more energy, and we have good days and not so good days. But in terms of pacing, the good days are the ones we need to watch out for. To highlight this, let me ask you a question. How many times have you woke up feeling good and decided to try to check off all the items off your to-do list? Well, what happens? I can practically hear everyone through the screen right now. You end up paying for it the next day. You try to do all the things, and a lot of times it's not even the next day, it's the next 3 to 4 days even. And this is something we call the boom-bust cycle. And as the name implies, you have a short period of lots of movement and activity, and then you have a bust cycle where there's essentially a period of increased sensitivity, fatigue, and most times than not, pain. It essentially looks like this. As you can see, there's a period of increased activity where it goes past our nerve threshold here. Then a period where it dips down lower, where we start to get that increase in pain and increase in fatigue. And we actually have a big name for that, and it's called post-exercise malaise. Or if you're a cool kid like us, you call it PEM. Eventually, it evens back out. But do you notice something there? That line is a little bit lower than it once was. Now, why is that? Well, you can think of the nervous system having to have a period of recovery before it can go back up to the level that it once was. And if the tricky thing is, if we keep on doing the boom-bust cycle, then we have a slow lower in that threshold in nerve sensitivity. And we don't want that. We want to have as much room as possible to move and live our lives. Now, this especially affects people with chronic fatigue syndrome. But either way, we want to try to avoid this boom-bust cycle whenever we can, because we want you to maximize all the spoons you have in a day and not make it so you have less spoons to work with. So how do we utilize pacing in real life? Well, following spoon theory is a great first step, and there's a few more helpful tips we can use to start improving. One thing we must do is get a baseline. How many spoons are you working with? And this will take a little trial and error, as one spoon is a little bit of a subjective measurement to measure a unit for activity. But they do have some charts available to help you determine how much energy one spoon is. I'll quickly go over a few. Things that can be considered one spoon are activities like taking pills, getting out of bed in the morning, and getting dressed. While 2 spoons would be considered, bathing, reading or studying, and styling your hair. While 3 spoons would be like making a meal, making plans or socializing, or performing housework. And the granddaddy, 4 spoons, would be like going to the doctor, going shopping, or going to work. But again, this is a subjective measurement. So as long as you have some system of measuring what your energy expenditure is, that's all that matters. Another thing we want to make sure is that we listen to our bodies. Remember, you know your body better than anybody else. If you're starting off the day with less spoons, don't try to push yourself too much. Meet yourself where you are on that day. And finally, try to get in tune with how your body feels. If you have a hard time discovering your baseline activity level, keep trying. Some people have an easier time with this than others, and that's okay. For many, this can be frustrating, and it may seem like your energy level has a mind of its own. But keep going, because finding a solid baseline is one of the best ways to maximize your day. It can also help you show progress as you begin to improve. Luckily, there are ways you can get more spoons per day. One thing we know is that when people have chronic illness, there is an overall increased sensitivity to the nervous system, which will generally lead to more pain and fatigue overall. And this makes sense because the nervous system is directly responsible for the creation of pain. But the good news is there are ways that we can decrease our nervous system. That's what NewFrame was designed to do. Remember back to when we were going over the boom-bust cycle? We have an upper limit our nervous system can handle before going into protection mode. By utilizing different techniques like pain neuroscience education, habit utilization, maximization of movement patterns, mindfulness, and many more, we can begin to decrease that sensitivity of our nervous system and raise that bar higher so we can perform more activities. By utilizing these techniques, it makes our nervous system more robust and better to handle more activities. So in closing, try to utilize pacing in your day. Discover your baseline and try to get more spoons by decreasing the sensitivity of your nervous system.